I'm going to tell you a story about a frog, a boy, and his dog. So, once upon a time, there was this little boy, and he had a pet frog and a pet dog. He liked the dog a little bit better than the frog, but no one knew that. It was a secret. He and his dog one night sat in his bedroom admiring his pet frog. He was pretty proud of himself for catching that frog earlier that day. As the day progressed into night, the boy got into bed and the dog got up on the bed with his human, which, excuse me, there's no other place for a dog but in the bed with you, right? And unbeknownst to them, the boy and the dog, the frog snuck out of the jar he was in and escaped. The boy woke up the next morning and the dog with him, and they were like, "Where is our frog?" They were surprised because they were just thinking the frog was going to stay put. He was happy in this jar, right? This was going to be his new home. So the boy got up out of bed, he got dressed, and he looked from head to toe in that room. Where could this frog possibly be? He looked under the bed and in his clothes and in his shoes and just turned that room upside down to try to find that frog. And the dog helped him. And the dog, being a dog and being completely focused on the nose, was like, "Where is the frog?" And he stuck his nose and ended up sticking his whole head into the jar because that's where the frog was. They looked and looked and looked for the frog. And the boy went over to the window in his room and opened the window and yelled, "Frog, where are you? Frog!" And the dog wanted to help out, but he had the jar stuck on his head, so he really couldn't help out by yelling, "Frog, where are you?" because his head was in the jar. The dog took a tumble out of the window, fell onto the ground, and broke the jar. Needless to say, the little boy, not so happy with his dog. And the dog was like, "I'm really sorry, let me lick your face, and it'll be okay. Everything's okay when I lick your face." They went on looking for the frog. "Frog, where are you? Where are you? I miss you. You're my new pet." And they ended up out on a hill looking for the frog, yelling at a group of trees, thinking the frog might be in there. "Frog, where are you?" And then the little boy saw a hole in the ground and he yelled down in there for the frog. All the while, the dog became mesmerized by a beehive and started yelping and barking at the bees. He even went clear up onto the side of the tree, barking at the bees. And as the boy was yelling in the hole, a little groundhog came out of the hole and was like, "Dude, I was taking a nap," and bit the little boy on the end of his nose. The dog ended up knocking the beehive on the ground, and let's just say the bees not so happy. And the boy went over to this great big huge tree, this massive tree that had a hole in it, and thought, well, maybe the frog's down in there. So he started yelling for the frog down in the hole of this tree. The bees, like I said, not so happy, went after the dog and chased the dog out of the woods. And at the same time, the boy who was yelling at this hole in the tree, an owl pops out and is like, "Hello, I also was taking a nap. You rudely interrupted me while I was taking this nap." The boy falls back out of the tree and the dog is chased by the bees. Not a good situation. The owl scares the boy away. He goes over and climbs up onto this rock and grabs a hold of what he thought was part of a tree and yells for the frog. "Frog, where are you? Where are you?" What he thought was a tree happened to be antlers of a deer. And he had leaned completely over onto what he thought was this tree, and it was the head of a deer. The deer freaked out, charges forward to the edge of a cliff with the boy on top of his head. The dog is running after his human, because that's what dogs do. They get to the edge of the cliff, and the deer stops, and the boy falls off. The dog falls off the cliff with him, and they fall down into, rest assured, a creek. So they fall down into the water. Thank goodness, no one was hurt. And the dog, completely petrified, climbs up on top of the boy's head, and the boy all of a sudden says, "Wait a minute, I think I hear something. Be still. Shh. Be very, very still." So the dog swims over to the edge of the water, and the little boy climbs up onto this log and looks over the log, and you won't believe what he saw. He saw his frog, who went back home. He had taken the husband of a husband and a wife couple, so he was back home with his wife now. Precious, just precious. And then he looked a little further and saw the entire frog family. Aw, they had kids. So he just sat there on the log, and he was so touched by that little frog family. Then he asked the frog, who he had had in his custody earlier, "Do you mind if I take one of the kids with me? I was really counting on having a little pet frog for a while. I'll bring you back later, but we had plans. I had some plans, the dog and I, with this frog, so it's okay if I take one of the kids with me?" "Go right ahead, it's fine." And so the little boy took one of the baby frogs, and they went home.